All right, so a lot of questions this morning about what this signals for diplomatic relations with Cuba and how concerned the world should be militarily. Joining us now outside of Boston in Newton, Massachusetts is Jim Walsh, an international security analyst at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Jim, thanks for being with us this morning. We know you've been to North Korea. You've spent more than 20 hours with the North Korean head of the delegation to the six-party talks. Put this in perspective for us this morning. What does this claim from North Korea about both the nuclear test and these short-range missiles mean?
Well, if you're just waking up on Memorial Day and you look at the headline, you say, my gosh, North Korea's had a nuclear test. Does this mean war? Does this mean military conflict? The answer is no. As was just said in the last report, we've had a previous North Korean nuclear test. It did not result in military conflict, and I don't think that's what's going to happen this time either. What we're really talking about are not military consequences, but political consequences, both inside North Korea, which is undergoing some sort of transition, and regionally with Japan, with China, with South Korea. So it is an unwelcome event. I have to underline that, but there's no reason for panic or fear.
Explain what, if we're trying to understand what's going on with that nation, what does North Korea want? What does North Korea want to prove with these tests?
Well, if I could answer the question, what precisely does North Korea want, I would be a wealthy man and I'd be on an island somewhere, not in this studio right now, because at the end of the day, we don't know that much about North Korea. Anyone who says they're 100% sure, I wouldn't trust what they say, but we can have some guesses. One theory, a popular theory for some time, has been North Korea does this sort of thing in order to improve its bargaining position. By taking a provocative action, suddenly people sort of scamper and want to do something to ratchet back the tension. And it also has the effect of dividing the countries and the six-party talks. Japan tends to get quite upset about these sorts of things. China less so. That divides the parties, improves North Korea's leverage. That's the traditional theory. There are some, and I'm starting to move from the traditional theory to this alternative notion, which is this is less driven by external events and bargaining and more by internal concerns. Again, Kim Jong-il had a stroke. There is no clear line of succession. They are now in the process of trying to establish some sort of order for a new leader in North Korea at some point. And when that sort of thing happens, governments often have shows of strength, and that's not unusual for North Korea in particular to do that sort of thing when there's domestic change at home.
North Korea has ignored U.S. warnings against conducting a nuclear test in the past. The White House releasing this statement this morning about it. By acting in blatant defiance of the United Nations Security Council, North Korea is directly and recklessly challenging the international community. Such provocations only serve to deepen North Korea's isolation. It will not find international acceptance unless it abandons its pursuit of weapons of mass destruction and their means of delivery. So that is a pretty strongly worded statement from our White House this morning, but ultimately, how much power does America have in reining in North Korea's nuclear ambitions?
Well, right now, I would say the answer is all the countries involved have limited leverage. Again, if it is the fact, and again, we don't know, if it's a fact that what is driving this right now are issues internal to North Korea, then it really doesn't matter what the outside world is doing. And it certainly doesn't matter if we're going to slap on some more sanctions. This is a poor country that's already as sanctioned as any country in the world. Sort of tweaking the sanctions isn't going to matter quite, at all. Right. I think what the U.S. is going to do in the short term is you're going to see it's going to reach out to Japan, its ally, its treaty ally, and try to reassure the Japanese public that we've got your back, that we're on your side. That's probably the most important thing the President and the Secretary of Defense will be doing over the next week.
All right, certainly another challenge that's fallen in the lap of this administration today. Jim Walsh, international security analyst at MIT. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.